So, I'm sure that every sports fan has witnessed an injury that they knew would derail a team's season or even the player's career. Examples include Peyton Manning in 2011, David Wright's spinal issues, Ken Griffey Jr.'s injuries in the early 2000s, and most recently, all of the injuries the 49ers endured in the 2020 season. However, what we usually can't foresee is how these injuries affect the player or team around 10 years down the line. Well, what if I were to tell you that an injury in 2003 led to the Kansas City Royals winning the 2015 World Series? It looks like I got a story to tell. And remember, if you have your own butterfly effect scenario you want me to cover, leave it down in the comments. However, before we get into the main story, I want to start with a little prologue. Let's head to May 22nd, 1998. 1 week after being traded to the Marlins, Mike Piazza was traded to the New York Mets. The Mets already had a two-time All-Star catcher in Todd Hundley, who in 1996 had broken the single-season record for most home runs by a catcher. However, in September 1997, he underwent Tommy John surgery. With the trade for Piazza, Hundley's catching career for the Mets was pretty much over. The Mets attempted to place Hundley in left field, but that experiment was thrown out, as the Mets were in the middle of a wild card race. And well, as you can see with these quotes, he was a terrible left fielder. Also, a week after the Piazza deal, there was a leak from the Mets organization which highlighted criticisms of Hundley's work ethic and drinking problems. As the Mets made Piazza the richest man in baseball in October, Hundley was traded to the Dodgers in December 1998. After a couple of injury-riddled seasons with the Dodgers, Hundley signed a multi-year contract with the Cubs in late 2000. Cubs fans consistently booed Hundley for his performances, even leading to a website known as dumptoddhundley.com. Unfortunately, that website doesn't exist anymore, likely because before the 2003 season, Hundley was eventually traded back to the Dodgers along with Chad Hermanson in exchange for Eric Karros and Mark Grudzielanek. One of these names will come up later. Interestingly, Hermanson was traded from the Pirates to the Cubs during the trade deadline in 2002. However, the initial trade included the Cubs sending outfielder Darren Lewis back to the Pirates. Upon hearing this news, Lewis retired from baseball. Obviously, a new deal would be constructed, which eventually led to the Hundley deal, but I just thought I'd mention that a player decided to retire from baseball rather than play for the Pirates. Alright, that's the end of the prologue. Let's head to 2003, specifically June 7th, 2003. Cubs' 24-year-old first baseman, Hee-Seop Choi, was in the middle of his rookie season. He entered June 7th with an OPS just under 900. Well, unfortunately, in a game against the Yankees, Jason Giambi hit an infield fly ball in front of the pitcher's mound, and Choi collided with Kerry Wood and violently bounced his head off the ground. In a rare instance for a baseball game, Choi was taken away in an ambulance right off the field. This injury resulted in a concussion, and while Choi came back to play at the end of the month, he was no longer the sole starting first baseman. Veteran Eric Karros became the main starting first baseman for the Cubs, as Choi's role and performances diminished. After the 2003 season, Choi was traded to the Florida Marlins for a young first baseman, Derek Lee. Coincidentally, Lee's father, Leon Lee, scouted Choi, leading Choi to sign with the Cubs in the late 90s. While Derek Lee turned into a great hitter for the Cubs, this is the last you'll hear of Lee and the Cubs in the story. In mid-2004, Choi was once again traded, this time to the Dodgers in a deal that involved the Dodgers receiving Brad Penny and the Marlins receiving Paul Lo Duca. However, the name that matters in this trade is Bill Murphy. The very next day, the Dodgers traded Murphy in a deal that brought veteran Steve Finley to LA. Now let's head to Game 161, Dodgers versus Giants. With 2 games left in the 2004 season, the Dodgers had a 2-game lead on the Giants in the NL West. If the Dodgers win, they clinch the division, and the Giants have to finish above the Astros in the wildcard race. If the Giants win, Game 162 becomes very intriguing. Let's move to the bottom of the 9th. The Giants are winning 3-0. Sean Green leads off with a single, and Robin Ventura draws a walk. Alex Cora would strike out, but Jose Hernandez would draw a walk of his own. And hey look, it's our friend Hee-Seop Choi. He draws a walk and the Dodgers have a run on the board. A new pitcher would come in, but a run would score off an error by shortstop Cody Ransom. Jason Worth, who I honestly didn't know played for the Dodgers, hits a single and drives in the tying run. Now the bases are loaded with 1 out. Up to the plate, Steve Finley.
Franklin set, Wayne ready and deal, swung on, high fly ball to deep right field. Wherever it goes, the Dodgers have won.
As a result of Finley's 2nd career walk-off grand slam, the Dodgers clinched the NL West. However, the Dodgers would lose to the Cardinals in the NLDS, and the Cardinals would lose to the Red Sox in the World Series, breaking the curse of the Bambino. I just thought it was worth mentioning. Something else I feel is worth mentioning is looking back at the Finley trade, one of the players in the deal, Coy Hill, dealt with his own injury issues. Although issues is a bit of an understatement. A couple of weeks after the trade, Hill broke his right ankle in a collision at home plate. However, in October of 2007, Hill was using a table saw at his home, and he severed 4 of his fingers off his right hand, including the thumb. I'll spare you from the graphic details, you can look those up yourself. Fortunately, Hill was able to get all 4 of these fingers reattached to his hand, even playing professional baseball until the conclusion of the 2014 season. There's no real way to transition from that story, so let's just head to the 2004 offseason. During the offseason, Finley signed with the Angels. However, after an ineffective 2005 season, Finley was traded to the Giants for infielder Edgardo Alfonzo. Alfonzo was under the impression he would be given ample playing time. However, Alfonzo started the year on a terrible cold streak, leading to his release on May 21st. Jason Bugler was called up to fill the roster spot. But the next day, the Angels called up prospect Kendrys Morales. Morales made his debut on May 23, 2006, but he didn't become a mainstay in the Angels lineup until 2009. But this ended up being Morales' breakout season. However, his success came to a halt on May 29, 2010. In the bottom of the 10th inning in a tied game against the Mariners, Morales hit a walk-off grand slam. Unfortunately, when Morales jumped on home plate, he broke his left ankle. Morales wouldn't play in another major league game until 2012. Catcher Mike Napoli became the primary first baseman in mid-June. Jeff Mathis was injured at the time of Morales' injury, but he became the primary catcher in mid-June, sending Napoli to first base. The Angels ended the 2010 season with their first record under 500 since 2003. After the season, Napoli was traded to the Blue Jays in a deal for Vernon Wells. Napoli was then traded by the Blue Jays a few days later to the Rangers. Interestingly, exactly 1 year after Morales' injury, Napoli had his own situation at home plate, where he was called safe in a controversial call to end the game. In May 2011, it was revealed that Morales needed another surgery and wouldn't play at all during the season. By 2012, Mike Trout was entering his rookie year and Albert Pujols had signed with the Angels. But Morales had a great comeback year. and while the Angels missed the playoffs, the future was looking bright. However, with young Mark Trumbo playing well as a utility man in 2012, and Pujols spending the last month of the 2012 season as the DH, Morales was expendable. The Angels traded Morales to the Mariners, which is pretty ironic, and received Jason Vargas in return. Vargas didn't really impress during his only season with the Angels. In the 2013 season, he signed a 4-year contract with the Royals. Vargas, like the rest of the Royals squad, played very well in 2014, reaching the World Series in the process. However, the Giants beat the Royals in the World Series, and Vargas didn't make a World Series appearance. Fast forward to the next season, on July 21st, 2015, Vargas suffered a torn UCL and needed Tommy John surgery. The Royals ended that day 6.5 games ahead in the AL Central. However, with Vargas gone for the year and Yordano Ventura also dealing with injury problems and underperforming at that point in the season, the Royals needed a pitcher for the playoff push. The Royals would trade for Reds ace Johnny Cueto. While he didn't play very well in his regular season tenure with the Royals, he was very valuable in the Royals' playoff run. Let's head to October 14th, 2015, Game 5 of the ALDS. While everyone was talking about the Bautista bat flip from the same day, the Royals were facing the Astros in a winner-take-all matchup after a huge comeback win in Game 4. Johnny Cueto was facing Colin McHugh. In the second inning, Cueto gave up a home run, giving the Astros an early 2-run lead. However, a single by Eric Hosmer in the 4th inning and a 2 RBI double by Alex Rios in the 5th would give the Royals the lead. A sacrifice fly would drive in Rios to give the Royals a 4-2 lead. After the home run in the second, Cueto would shut down Astros hitters all the way through the 8th inning. Now for the bottom of the 8th. With 2 outs on a 2-2 count and 2 runners on base, the Royals have a chance to blow the game wide open. Oh wait, who's that? It's Kendrys Morales.
Kansas City. Morales sends a ball well hit into left center field, and that one is gone!
He hits a 3-run home run to solidify the Royals' spot in the ALCS. It all comes full circle. The Royals beat the Blue Jays in the ALCS and faced the Mets in the World Series. In Game 2 in a 4-run 5th inning, Morales hit a single to allow the 4th run to be driven in by Mike Moustakas. Cueto pitched a complete game in Game 2 to stretch the Royals' series lead to 2 games. After Game 2, Cueto nor Morales made an impact on the series. But without these two, the Royals don't get to the World Series. In the end, the Royals won their first title in 30 years, and it all stems from an unfortunate injury back in 2003. Although, I want to share a little story about Hee-Seop Choi. We're going to have to head back to 2006. It's the inaugural World Baseball Classic. South Korea is facing the US in Game 2 of the second round. If you don't know how the World Baseball Classic tournament works, basically the tournament starts with 4 groups of 16 teams in round 1. Each team in a group plays each other once. The best 2 teams of each group move on to round 2 to make 2 groups of 4 teams. Each team in a group plays each other once. The best 2 teams of each group move on to the semifinals. So we're in the round before the semifinals. The night before this game, the US beat Japan and South Korea beat Mexico. This is a must-win game for each team. Dontrell Willis was the starter for the US, but he had trouble with the Korean hitters. He gave up 2 runs in the first inning, one of them being off a solo home run. Though in the top of the 3rd, Ken Griffey Jr. hit a towering home run that just barely cleared the fence. In the bottom half of the 3rd, the US gave up another run off a ground out. And in the 4th inning, with 2 runners on base, pinch hitter Hee-Seop Choi was up to the plate. Baseball fans wouldn't know it yet, but the prior season in 2005 would be the last time Choi would play in an MLB game. He would spend the 2006 season in AAA with the Red Sox. And while he was offered a shot with the Rays for the 2007 season, he decided to head back home to South Korea. So this would be one of Choi's final at-bats in an MLB stadium. And he hit this. This would be Choi's final home run in the US. Korea beat the US 7-3, and they would go on to beat Japan 2-1. South Korea was now in the semifinals. However, they would coincidentally face Japan in the semifinals and would lose 6-0, ending their tournament. But the significance of this mini story is hidden behind Choi's home run. In South Korea, all men between the ages of 18 and 28 must complete 2 years of military service. However, exemptions can be given to people in sports and entertainment. In recent years, notable players like Tottenham Hotspur attacker Heung-min Son and even Shin-Soo Choo won medals in their respective competitions, allowing them to be exempt from military service. Well, as the result of Choi's home run, he ensured South Korea's spot in the semifinals of the competition. In response, South Korea's defense ministry exempted the whole squad from military service. In reality, this only affected 11 of the 30 players, though this did include Choi and future MLB reliever Seung-hwan Oh. So, to wrap up the story, Choi's career had affected the careers and lives of countless other players. Choi, at one of his lowest moments, led to one of the most improbable World Series winners of the 21st century. Choi, in one of the highlights of his career, led to 10 of his teammates being given the opportunity to continue living out their dreams as baseball players. It's a shame that Choi's tenure in MLB was cut so short, but he still has a legacy that impacted countless other people. I think that's a pretty cool story. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and remember to leave your butterfly effect scenario in the comments. Subscribe to Stark Raving Sports, and check out my channel, SportStorm. Thanks for watching.